Dear students, welcome to this lecture on the topic of Friedrich Hegel and concept of idealism. Some of the important objectives of this lecture are to explore the life and works of Hegel, to explain the idealist tradition, to examine Hegel's idealism, and concluding remarks. In order to achieve our objectives, the lecture has been divided into several sections. We will begin with an introduction to Hegel's life and works, followed by an explanation of idealism, including German idealism. Finally, I will delve into Hegel's concept of idealism. This structured approach will provide you a comprehensive understanding of the subject matter. Let me begin by talking about the life and works of Friedrich Hegel. Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel was a German philosopher born August 27, 1770 in Stuttgart, Germany. He is considered to be one of the most important figures in Western philosophy and a leading representative of German idealism. Hegel's works span a wide range of disciplines, including metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, political philosophy, and aesthetics. Hegel's early life was characterized by a strong academic leaning, and he studied philosophy, theology, and humanities. He completed his doctoral dissertation entitled "The Difference Between Fichte's and Schelling's System of Philosophy" in 1801, which marked his entry into the intellectual scene. Hegel's groundbreaking phenomenology of spirit laid the foundation for his philosophical system. In this work, Hegel explored the development of self-awareness and the advancement of human knowledge through a dialectical process of encountering and resolving contradictions. His major work, Science of Logic, deals with metaphysics and logic and provides a comprehensive framework for understanding the nature of reality and structure of thought. Hegel's dialectical method is prominent in this work, emphasizing the interplay of opposing concepts and their synthesis. Hegel's political philosophy is expounded in Elements of Philosophy of Law, published in 1820, where he discusses the ethical foundations of state, law, and social institutions. He argued that the state was the embodiment of liberty, settling conflicts and providing a rational framework for social and political life. Hegel's influence goes beyond philosophy. His ideas have permeated diverse fields, including sociology, theology, political theory, and literary criticism. He had a significant influence on later philosophers such as Karl Marx, who is known to have developed a dialectical materialistic critique of Hegel's philosophy. Hegel's works are known for their complexity and intricate prose, which often requires careful study and interpretation. His philosophy has sparked lively debate and interpretation throughout history, with scholars offering different perspectives on the meaning and implications of his ideas. Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel died in Berlin on November 14, 1831, leaving behind a large and lasting intellectual legacy that continues to shape philosophical discourse even today. Idealist tradition. The idealist tradition in Western philosophy encompasses a range of philosophical perspectives that emphasize the importance of ideas, concepts, and abstract principles in understanding the nature of reality, knowledge, and human experience. It is a tradition that has had a profound impact on various fields, including metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, and aesthetics. Here are some key figures and schools of thought within the idealist tradition. Plato. Plato, an ancient Greek philosopher, is considered one of the foundational figures of Western idealism. His philosophy posits the existence of higher realm of forms or ideas which are eternal, unchanging, and represent the true nature of reality. According to Plato, our physical world is mere reflection or imperfect copy of these ideal forms. Neoplatonism, another important idealist school of thought. Neoplatonism was a philosophical and mystical movement that emerged in the 3rd century AD, building upon Plato's ideas. It emphasized the transcendence of divine and the ascent of soul towards the ultimate reality or the one. Influential Neoplatonists include Plotinus and Proclus. German idealism, another important idealist school of thought that emerged from Germany. In the late 18th and early 19th centuries, German philosophers such as Immanuel Kant, Johann Gottlieb Fichte, Friedrich Schelling, and Georg Wilhelm Friedrich developed a distinct form of idealism. Kant emphasized the role of mind in structuring our experiences, while Fichte emphasized the primacy of self and its relationship to the external world. Schelling explored the interconnectedness of nature and spirit, and Hegel developed a comprehensive system of dialectical idealism. Transcendental idealism, which is another well-known and renowned idealist school of thought. Transcendental idealism, developed by Kant. Transcendental idealism posits that knowledge is shaped by the interaction between mind and the external world. Kant argued that our understanding of reality is mediated by categories of thought and that we can only know phenomena as they appear to us rather than things in themselves. Absolute idealism, another important idealist school of thought led by Hegel. Hegel's philosophy of absolute idealism argues that reality is fundamentally spiritual or mental in nature. He posits the existence of a universal mind or spirit, the absolute which unfolds and progresses through a dialectical process of thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Hegel's idealism emphasizes the interconnectedness of individuals, history, and the development of self-consciousness. British idealism, which is another well-known and renowned idealist school of thought. British idealism emerged in the 19th and early 20th centuries with the notable philosophers such as F. H. Bradley, T. H. Green, and Bernard Bosanquet. British idealism sought to integrate the insights of German idealism with British empiricism, emphasizing the unity of experience and the coherence of reality. These are just a few examples within rich and diverse idealist tradition in Western philosophy. Idealist thinkers have contributed significantly to our understanding of metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, and aesthetics, and their ideas continue to shape philosophical discourse to this day. Now, let me come to another section of this lecture, which is about the German idealism. Georg Hegel is widely recognized as one of the most systematic post-Kantian idealists, alongside J. G. Fichte and F. W. J. von Schelling, who belonged to the period of German idealism in the decades following Kant. Throughout his published writings and lectures, Hegel endeavored to develop a comprehensive and systematic philosophy from a logical starting point. His teleological account of history, which posits an historical development culminating in communism, is perhaps his most well-known contribution to philosophy. This account was later adapted by Marx, who inverted it into a materialistic theory. Although idealist philosophies in Germany post-dated Hegel, the movement commonly known as German idealism effectively ended with Hegel's work. Since the turn of the 20th century, the logical side of Hegel's thought has been largely forgotten, while his political and social philosophy and theological views have continued to garner interest and support. However, since 1970s, there has been a renewed interest in Hegel's systematic thought and its logical basis. Hegel's contributions to philosophy have been significant and far-reaching. His logical starting point and teleological account of history have influenced many subsequent philosophers, while his political and social philosophy and theological views continue to be studied and debated. Despite the decline of German idealism, Hegel's legacy endures and his ideas remain relevant to contemporary philosophical discourse. Now, let us discuss the Hegelian idealism, which is actually the main topic of today's lecture. Hegel was the final product of philosophical movement known as German idealism, which arose in Germany in response to Immanuel Kant's critical philosophy. Kant had aimed to resolve the impasse between British empiricism and French rationalism. These philosophical currents were driven by problems which had arisen from the rapid increase of natural science since Galileo, chiefly the nature of reality and the sources and boundaries of human knowledge of nature. Kant had proposed that a thing existed in itself, but human beings could have knowledge only of phenomena, that is, appearances, while the nature of thing in itself remained unknowable. Kant's approach generated many troubling dualism and contradictions, and the German idealists attempted to resolve these contradictions by focusing on forms of knowledge rather than speculating on the nature of reality outside of human practices, which was the preserve of materialists. Hegel's idealism, often referred to as Hegelian idealism or absolute idealism, is a philosophical framework developed by German philosopher Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. Hegel's idealism encompasses a comprehensive and integrate system, explores the nature of reality, knowledge, and human consciousness. Some of the key aspects of Hegel's idealism are dialectical method. At the core of Hegel's idealism is his dialectical method, which involves the interplay of opposing ideas or forces. According to Hegel, concepts or entities give rise to their negation or contradictions, leading to a higher synthesis that resolves the tension between the two. This dialectical process is seen as the driving force behind the development and progression of ideas, history, and human understanding. Another aspect of Hegel's idealism is absolute spirit. Hegel posits the existence of an all-encompassing spiritual reality called the absolute or absolute spirit. The absolute represents the ultimate truth or reality that underlies all phenomena. It's a universal mind or consciousness that unfolds and develops through the dialectical process, encompassing both the subjective and objective dimensions of reality. Concept of Geist. Hegel's concept of Geist, often translated as spirit or mind, plays a central role in his idealism. Geist refers to the collective consciousness or spirit of a society, manifesting in its institutions, customs, culture, and history. Hegel sees the development of human consciousness and self-awareness as an essential aspect of unfolding of Geist. Historical progression, another key aspect of Hegelian idealism. Hegel's idealism incorporates a historical perspective, suggesting that human history follows a dialectical progression. He argues that societies and individuals move through the stages of development, from a state of alienation and ignorance to a higher stage of self-consciousness and freedom. Hegel sees history as a process of self-realization and the advancement of human consciousness towards the realization of freedom and rationality. Unity of subject and object, another key aspect of Hegelian idealism. Hegel seeks to overcome the traditional distinction between subject and object, emphasizing their essential interconnectedness. Hegel argues that subjectivity and objectivity are not separate and isolated realms, but rather mutually dependent and intertwined aspects of reality. Hegel's idealism seeks to reconcile subjective experience of individuals with the objective reality of external world. Absolute idealism, formulated by G.W.F. Hegel, is a political view that there should be an identity of being and thought in order for human reason to understand the nature of the natural world. Without this identity of being or thought, man's knowledge and understanding would be uncertain. It has been observed that the arguments and ideas advanced by Hegel borrow much from the works of Plato. According to Plato, the decision to reason is something that makes it easier for the thinker or person to come to terms with reality. Hegel calls this kind of reason self-determination. When the individual has a reality of himself, he or she will be able to exercise the power of reason. According to a philosopher, this kind of reality or self-determination is something that cannot be achieved through material or physical objects such as mountains and rocks. According to Hegel, it is this individual consciousness that will become absolute spirit. It's also worth noting that the person may be unaware of this type of mental state. When man understands that he is part of consciousness, he will be able to think and act rationally. Consequently, the individual will not worry about his freedoms. Instead, they will work hard to achieve something called self-actualization. In this way, people can redefine their political models and ideas. As a result, individuals can eventually create new societies and communities that encourage diversity and uphold freedoms for all to empower self-determination. Hegel's analysis of idealism goes further, explaining how the interplay of dialectics or opposite tends to produce the main concepts that can lead man to a clear understanding of the world and political structures. This is something that can only happen over the course of history and in the individual mind. The state of being is therefore, by definition, a powerful dynamic. The dynamic is characterized by a complex historical process that is continuously unfolding. This indispensable process unfolds to represent every form of diversity in the universe. New concepts will emerge that will make it easier for individuals to understand the world around them. Furthermore, Hegel's concept of idealism describes how individuals are ephemeral moments of a single substance. Therefore, civil society should not dictate people's priorities. From a political point of view, Hegel goes further and points out that a political society is one that promotes diversity and dynamism. This is a powerful approach that can preserve the integrity of entire non-political realm. The role of idealism is therefore to promote liberty and promote societies that promote diversity and well-being for all. Against this background, Hegel's idealism points out that the world is something that should be examined from a historical perspective. In this way, political reflection will emerge or show itself from the process of becoming self-aware. However, it has been observed that through the use of dialectical approach or movement, the story follows a logical pattern or necessity. This notion explains why Hegel viewed the achievements and cultural characteristics of his society as the culmination of all aspects experienced in the last few decades. The impact of Hegelian idealism extends beyond philosophy itself, permeating discussions in literature, art, and political and social movements. While Hegel's ideas have been subject to various interpretations and criticism, his work has undeniably left a lasting imprint on the intellectual discourse and continues to shape philosophical discussions and inquiries into the nature of reality, knowledge, and human experience. His complex and intricate system of thought has sparked extensive debates and interpretations, and his ideas continue to be subject of study and analysis in contemporary philosophy. In conclusion, Hegelian idealism is a philosophical concept that was developed by German philosopher Hegel. It emerged as a response to Enlightenment and Romanticism and was an attempt to reconcile the opposing ideas of rationalism and empiricism. At the core of Hegelian idealism is the belief that the universe is an interconnected whole and that everything in it is interconnected and interdependent. Hegelian idealism is centered on the idea that the universe is a product of mind. Hegel believed that the universe was a self-realizing entity that was constantly evolving. This process of evolution was driven by the dialectic, which is the process of arriving at a new concept through the synthesis of opposing ideas. Hegel believed that the dialectic was a driving force behind history and that it was responsible for the progress of human society. According to Hegelian idealism, the ultimate goal of the universe is to achieve absolute knowledge and understanding. This is known as absolute spirit, and it is the goal of human history. Hegel believed that the only way to achieve absolute knowledge was to understand the interconnectedness of all things and to transcend the limitations of human existence. This meant that the individuals had to look beyond themselves and their own interests and think in terms of greater good of the universe. One of the key features of Hegelian idealism is the concept of absolute. The absolute is the ultimate truth and it is the highest reality. According to Hegel, the absolute is not something that can be understood through the reason or empirical methods. Instead, it is something that can only be experienced through a process of self-realization. Hegel believed that the individuals could achieve a state of unity with the absolute by understanding their place in the universe and by realizing their own potential. Hegel's idealism was also criticized by many other philosophers, but more importantly, the reflections of Karl Marx are significant to consider here. Hegel's philosophical work was an attempt to summarize the essence of the entire history of philosophy, and for him that meant an entire history. Here, Marx's critique of Hegel was a critique of philosophical science. Hegel, an idealist, had striven to express the way that freedom developed only at the level of the whole society, what he called spirit. On the other side, Karl Marx, the materialist, had gone beyond the traditional aims of philosophy, sought to uncover possibility of the social individual whose free development was the condition without which the free development of all could not come about. Hegelian idealism is a complex philosophical concept that attempts to reconcile opposing ideas of rationalism and empiricism At the heart of Hegelian idealism is the belief that the universe is a self-realizing entity that is constantly evolving, and that the ultimate goal of the universe is to achieve absolute knowledge and understanding. The concept of absolute is a key feature of Hegelian idealism, and it represents the highest reality and ultimate truth. Hegelian idealism has had a profound impact on philosophy, influencing the work of many subsequent philosophers and thinkers. So, dear students, it was all about today's lecture. Hope you gained some knowledge on Hegel's idealism. We shall meet again to discuss the critical evaluation of idealism. Thank you.